Hello. I wanted to talk about ChatGPT and how I've been using it for self reflection and understanding my relationships with my parents and my siblings, understanding what I want out of life, understanding what I want in a future partner. It is a really useful tool for self analysis because you can just sort of feed it your chaotic, messy thoughts, and it will organize them for you and summarize them in a way that is really meaningful and feels really insightful, even if sometimes it's just rephrasing what you already told it back to you. But it can really help with clarity because often, you might have a lot of thoughts, and they're very jumbled, and maybe you feel conflicting things that kind of contradict in some way. And it can just really help you get clarity on how you actually feel and think about certain things. And it's really useful. One thing I really love about it is you can ask it things that you could ask like another person, like, based on what you know about me, what do you think my blind spots are? Like something that you can't really figure out on your own very easily. You kind of need someone else's input. What ChatGPT says is pretty profound and certainly much more honest than what another person would tell you. And I think that's really cool, and I think everybody should give it a try. My blind spots, I have a lot of self-doubt that maybe I don't need to have, according to ChatGPT. I certainly have a fear of being seen, and I have a lot of limiting beliefs about connection and intimacy. Like, I grew up kind of with the belief that connection and intimacy was unsafe and resulted in a loss of freedom and autonomy. And as a result, I developed a dismissive, avoidant attachment style, which I very much did. And that just makes me afraid of connecting with people because I'm afraid it will come with a lot of expectations and limitations on my freedom. And it just feels ultimately scary and not something I want due to these limiting beliefs that are not always true. They were true in my circumstance growing up, but they're not necessarily true in every circumstance. And I certainly don't have to be in a situation like that again if I just pay attention to the signs, and also, reverse it and look for positive qualities that would avoid those things. Someone who's like very emotionally open instead of repressed, someone who makes me feel energized when I talk to them rather than drained, so that I'm not seeking space away from them, but instead I actually want to, be around them. Wow, what a what a groundbreaking insight. Yeah, you should probably go after people you actually like. Yeah, but that's really scary, so I don't do that. But yeah, I don't have a good track record of doing that. So ultimately, it believes that I am way too afraid of putting myself out there and way too afraid of people's judgments of me, and ultimately it thinks I have that crazy fear because it was unsafe to be seen by my primary caregivers. And as a result, I internalized that I needed to hide myself and censor my thoughts so that I could be loved, but it was never actually love. It was just tolerance when I performed a certain way rather than when I was my authentic self. So the antidote to that would be then to be as authentic as possible, as publicly as possible. Exposure therapy. So this is my exposure therapy. Hello. You are my... you are helping me overcome this fear. Thank you. Thank you for being here. I've been feeling a lot of fear in America recently. I've been thinking that it looks really similar to 1940s Germany, especially with the deportations to El Salvador and how he has indicated that he wants to increase that and also include American citizens. And he's already including many who have no criminal record, who are assumed to be part of gangs because they have a tattoo, no evidence whatsoever. I mean, this is scary times. Uh, and obviously, it's, more scary for immigrants, but I am obviously scared too. And I recently left the country for a 20-day trip. And honestly, I was scared upon coming back that I might get arrested. That might sound, I don't know, far fetched or dramatic or something, but I don't know. I don't know what to believe. I don't know if I'm overreacting. I mean, like, how do you overreact to your civil rights being taken away? How do you overreact to the erosion of free speech? Protesters being arrested for using their voice in a way that the government doesn't like. So fucking what? That it's terrifying that we are losing these rights that Americans have fought to have for hundreds of years, and we were one of the only countries in the world that had free speech. Even the UK doesn't have free speech. You know what I mean? So, I mean, that means something. And to see the president want to take this freedom away from Americans and arrest people for using their voice, for protesting against a genocide, it's disturbing. And, I'm not entirely sure that there's not another genocide going on or soon to go on if it's not already, with the deportation of all of these people to these prison camps. Do we know if they're alive? I mean, one has come back that I saw in the news, one who was wrongly deported and the Supreme Court demanded he be brought back. He was thankfully alive, but what about all the other ones? So we are in scary times. I'm not really sure what to do other than to talk about it. I think, even though I don't have much of a platform, I think if I could just use my platform as much as possible to bring awareness to things like this, that would give it some meaning or value. I think, I'm actually really surprised. There was a lot of speculation that he was going to incite the Insurrection Act on 4/20, I believe it was. 3 months after he entered office, he was expected to either declare martial law or incite the Insurrection Act, but thankfully he did neither. So it hasn't gotten as bad as I thought it would get, but I'm not sure why he eased off because it really seemed like he was trying to be a dictator. I mean, it still seems like he's trying to be a dictator, but you would think that he would have done everything in his power to protect his power, and certainly declaring martial law seems like a way to do that, but I guess they deemed it too risky or something. I don't know, but they can always do it later. I saw the trailer for that movie that everyone's talking about right now, Sinners. That looked okay in the trailer, but then I'm hearing everyone's like, this is the best movie of the year, you have to see it. And it got really high ratings on Rotten Tomatoes and IMDb, so I guess it legitimately is really, really good. But yeah, I just don't like going to movie theaters anymore. I feel like they're so expensive and they're just so low value, for what you get. It's so much preferable to just stream from your bed and eat your own popcorn and snacks for a tiny fraction of the price, Yeah, it feels like such an inferior service at this point that maybe should go away, as sad as that may be. Or maybe they could switch from showing blockbusters to instead, movies that just come out recently, and instead show, I don't know, older movies or something. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna make people want to get off their ass and go there when it's so expensive and it's not that great. So, yeah, I don't know. They're having to do all these dirty tricks like delay the streaming launch for several months so that movie theaters can even stand a chance against the streaming people. Because if we actually had a choice, no one would go to the movie theater. And it's interesting to watch that industry die. What's annoying is that it won't just die. Just die. Like, stop hanging on. I do not care about the movie theater. And clearly consumers in general do not care. Because if we did, we would go there. And we are not going there because we don't want to. And people will say, oh, it's so sad that movie theaters are dying. Meanwhile, they will never go to the movie theater. That you're the reason they're dying. It's like performative giving a shit. You don't actually care. If you did, you would go there. And nobody's going to the movies. And rightfully so. It is really not that great. Recently, I've been doing a lot of facial exercises. I think I started it what day are we on? Wednesday? I think I started it over the weekend, perhaps, like Saturday or something. So maybe I've been doing it for 5 days at most by this point. And I've already noticed a huge difference. Like, you're not going to notice because this is like the second video I've made or something. So like, you don't really have a before picture. Maybe I'll insert one or something. But I really notice that my zygomatic area, my whole zygomatic area is just so much more defined. So much more defined. So much more defined than it was before. Like, it's still not that great, but it's better than it was before, very noticeably to me. So that's cool. Cool. Yeah, I think they definitely work, Yeah, I guess I don't have any other topics for today. So I will sign off. See you tomorrow, I guess, or whatever. Okay, bye.